Okay, guys, so I'm often asked why my channel, this channel, focuses on the topics that it focuses on. And first, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the PayPal, make sure you hit the Super Chat, make sure you hit the Cash App. That's the only way you can really know that you guys are supporting the channel. Also hit the like button. So make sure you do those things. But most of the pushback I get on social media, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, wherever I post these stories, wherever I post these videos, most of the pushback I get is from white liberals. I get a lot of pushback from blacks and, pro-blacks and the whole group. But the majority of the pushback where, like, I'm being told off and put in my place is from white liberals. And that may be a reason why I kind of aim some of my vitriol towards white liberals on these videos, because you guys don't see what I go through on Twitter and Facebook when I post these videos. And I'll start, showing you guys some of the threads and letting you guys see what goes on. But white liberals are very upset. They don't like me. And they think that the reason I talk about gun violence in the United States through the lens of the black community is because I hate myself. And I hate other black people. I don't like black people. And I'm trying to, tear down black people. And how could I do this? But I'm black. And I'm the part of the problem affecting the black community. And the reason I talk about gun violence in America is because gun violence in America is a black issue. Almost solely. Okay? Almost solely. Now, if you want to say, like, if you want to be technical, yes. There are white people that get killed with guns, and there are Hispanic people that get killed with guns. Very few Asians. Not many Asians, but it's a nice number of whites and a nice number of Hispanics that get killed with guns. But every day, 104 black people in this country are just shot. 26 are killed. Add that up, that's 130. So every day, 130 black people in this country get shot. And 98% of those happen in democratically run cities. And one of those democratically run cities, which will give you the best microcosm and the best example of what's going on in black America, is Philadelphia.
Eyewitness News reporter Alicia Reed is in Spring Garden to tell you more about how this all unfolded. Alicia?
Good evening, Yuki. Philadelphia's gun violence epidemic has no boundaries. One of the latest victims, the brother of a man whose main focus is preventing gun violence in Philadelphia. The reality of Philadelphia's gun violence epidemic crashes a virtual hearing. Tuesday's City Council Special Committee on Gun Violence Prevention came to a halt.
I didn't want to sign off without kind of like letting the people that's on here know how real gun violence is. My My brother just got shot.
John Solomon had tuned in, fully expecting to talk about his organization, Endangered Kind. But before having to log off, he jumped the line to testify. His brother had just been shot.
Kind of this emergency situation, so I'm gonna head out and kind of see what's going on.
All right, John, keep your head up. I'll call you later on.
That was one of the 394 non-fatal shootings so far this year. John was once on the other side of the law, but after going to prison as a teen for weapons charges and attempted murder, he says if he can transform, there's a great chance other young people in the city can do the same.
Change is possible because I was deeply entrenched into gun violence as early as 13 years old.
At 28, he now uses his influence to help those around him, who in turn also help others.
Even though I'm young, I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot too myself. So if I could prevent them to not see the things that I've seen, like as far as on the violent, negative way, like you feel me? And there's young kids I heard that's getting hurt.
John says his brother is still recovering and will be okay. He tells me this incident further solidifies the work he has set forth. Reporting live from Spring Garden, Alicia Reed, CBS 3 Eyewitness News. Yuki.
Alicia.
Okay, so when you see this brother and he's having a virtual conference with some other people in Philadelphia trying to, do the most you can do. Just talk about it. It really ain't nothing you can do. But try to talk about solutions to gun violence, it's this, that, and the third. And during the conference, the Zoom call, his brother's shot. His brother's doing fine. But it just goes to show you, like, the other day I did a story about Ricky Smiley, his good friend, was killed at a park, a big Easter celebration at a park on Sunday. Like, these things are uniquely black experiences. If you're a white person, this is not your reality. Some Hispanic people, this is their reality. But black people, this is a very true reality. Okay, so a few days ago, in one of the stories that I covered in one of my videos, I reported on this triple homicide in Capitol Heights. And I wasn't all the way honest with you guys. I talked to my wife about it because, she kind of like, convinced me unwittingly to share this with you guys, because she was like, you talk about a lot on your channel about gun violence and about what goes on in black America. And she's a very liberal woman. She's a black woman 97% Democrat. She's all with all the black, with typical anything you see a black woman. That's my wife. Okay, all the good stuff and all of the political stuff. I wouldn't have this channel without her, but she was like, how can you, basically talk about gun violence all the time, but not let your viewers know that, the guy who committed this triple homicide is somebody you've known for 30 years. You've known him since he was a little boy. Now, I haven't seen him in about 4 years, but he knows everybody in my family. We just missed having crossed paths. Like, I've been out of the way, like way out of the way. I don't even want to be around. Like I tell you guys, I don't want to be around niggas no more. If it's two niggas and I make 3, I'm out. That's too many niggas for me. But back in the day, I was very much, you know, around bro here and other guys like that. And yeah, man, a guy I know very well. Hung out with a lot in the past. Seen since he was a little boy. Watched him grow into a man right in front of my eyes. Just killed 3 people a few days ago. And now he's in jail, allegedly. Now he has his day in court, but these are the charges that he's being charged with. You know, this is what he's being charged with. Cops are saying they saw the muzzle flash. They saw him throw the gun. They arrested him on the scene. It's not looking good. But he still has his day in court, just like anybody else. And we'll see once he goes to court, we'll see what happened. But yeah, I thought about this. I was not going to share this with you guys, but my wife, she was like, you know, how can you do that and you not? Because I mean, it's heartbreaking, you know, especially because, you know, triple homicide. That's like, you're done. You know, it's over if he's convicted of this. So, yeah. This is why I talk about Black America. This is why I talk about gun violence, white liberals.
Or a tourist heading to his hotel was hit by a bullet meant for someone else. This happened not far from Times Square. Surveillance video actually shows it happen. You can see a scuffle on the right side of your screen, and then the victim falls to the ground. Newsworks John Chandler's in Midtown with a break in the case. Police have a man. It happened. You can see a scuffle on the right side of your screen, and then the victim falls to the ground. Newsworks John Chandler's in Midtown with a break in the case. Police have a man in custody now. A man, they say, fired his gun in the early hours this morning as he scuffled with 2 others right here in his bike lane at 38th and 8th. At that same time, Chris Ruby, a tourist from Kansas City, happened to be walking through the crosswalk. He was struck in the shoulder and crumpled to the sidewalk. On the left, Chris Ruby waits for cars to pass. Then as he walks to his right, 3 men appear to start fighting. One fires a gun. The bullet misses its intended target and strikes Chris in the shoulder. He's a tourist from Kansas City, crossing the wrong street at the wrong time.
Wow. So our buddy Chris Ruby from Kansas City, just in town to see a game. In town to see a damn ball game in the safest place in the city, Manhattan. Times Square. That's the safest place in New York City, man. You got a lot of scam artists down there, pickpockets and stuff like that. But the murders in New York don't go down there as much. Homeless people, yeah. Attacks on everybody. Anti-everybody attacks. Anti-Hispanic, anti-black, anti-white attacks all down through there, yes. But very few of the murders, percentage of the murders that happen in New York City happen down here. Safest place in New York City. And this is what I talk about gun violence. This what happened to this guy, this white guy, happens to black people all the time. Like literally all the time. Okay? This happens to black people all of the time. Okay? All of the time. Now, it happened to this guy, and you know, unfortunate feel sorry for him, but he'll be all right. He'll survive. But this right here happens all of the time in the black community. This just happened to happen to this guy in Times Square. This group of brothers just was walking by. He was around 3. Look, you see, it was 3. And but this happens all the time in the black community.
In his bike lane at 38th and 8th. At that same time, Chris Ruby, a tourist from Kansas City, happened to be walking through the crosswalk. He was struck in the shoulder and crumpled to the sidewalk. On the left, Chris Ruby waits for cars to pass. Then as he walks to his right, 3 men appear to start fighting. One fires a gun. The bullet misses its intended target and strikes Chris in the shoulder. He's a tourist from Kansas City, crossing the wrong street at the wrong time.
That happened last night? Right here?
Right here at 38th and 8th Avenue. The scene remained taped off throughout the morning. 6 police officers standing guard. The shooting happened at 2:30 Wednesday morning, and many weren't surprised to hear about it.
It's a dangerous. What? 38th Street and 8th Avenue? What? They got dope over here, crack heroin.
Jeffrey Griffin feels far less safe over the last year here.
This is a cesspool over here, man.
The NYPD says crime is up from last March, but Mayor De Blasio doesn't buy that New Yorkers are afraid.
I do not believe New Yorkers live in fear. It's just not who we are.
Still, many we spoke to, tourists and residents alike, express fear as they walk by this corner, now a crime scene.
Guns are everywhere, unfortunately.
Only a Democrat mayor could get away with that. The people, that was to look like a Latino guy with the mask on. Are telling you they're in fear. White women telling you they're in fear. And the mayor gets on TV and says, I don't believe that. And there's no outcry. Nobody's calling for his job. Democratic politicians are foolproof. Everybody got mad when Donald Trump said, I can go out on Madison Avenue and shoot somebody and I'll still win the election. Democratic politicians have the longest rope leash, the most leeway of anybody in the world. Literally, for years, not just these people in this piece right here, for years, New Yorkers have been telling AOC, De Blasio, all the other leaders in New York, look, we're terrified, we're scared, you can't walk down the streets. Gun violence is through the roof. Ever since you got rid of the gun, the anti-gun unit, 600 officers, because New York's such a big city. They have 600 officers, plainclothes officers every day, you know, in the streets of New York City, locking up repeat offender, thug, gang members, and making them think twice before they, you know, pull out a gun in broad daylight. De Blasio got rid of that unit when George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis. As we've learned, George Floyd, there were no injuries to his neck. So George Floyd was killed by fentanyl. When George Floyd was killed by fentanyl in Minneapolis. And ever since then, along with the cash bail, New Yorkers have been living in a state of fear. No cash bail. You commit a crime, you get out the next day. And this guy has the nerve to get on the television screen with the flag behind him and say, I don't believe them. What? He should resign. He should turn in his resignation. This should be rioting in New York until he turns in his resignation. New Yorkers should riot down by wherever this guy works at or wherever he lives. I don't know where he works, City Hall. There should be riots. The same riots y'all had when the The dope fiend OD'd in Minneapolis, the same ride y'all had when that happened, y'all should have now.
It's dangerous. What? 30th Street and 8th Avenue? What? They got dope over here, crack heroin.
Jeffrey Griffin feels far less safe over the last year here.
This is a cesspool over here, man.
The NYPD says crime is up from last March, but Mayor De Blasio doesn't buy that New Yorkers are afraid.
I do not believe New Yorkers live in fear. It's just not who we are.
Still, many we spoke to, tourists and residents alike, express fear as they walk by this corner, now a crime scene.
Guns are everywhere, unfortunately, just too readily available.
You got a mayor who doesn't do anything, who's oblivious, who's asleep, who's never around, is not a cheerleader for New York. He doesn't know what's going on.
The mayor says police are working to get more guns off the street.
I believe we've seen a serious uptick in gun violence that has to be addressed.
I spoke to Chris Ruby by phone as he left the hospital, headed to the airport, headed back home, obviously flustered. He said he didn't want to appear on camera, but he believes he will be okay through all of this. As for the man arrested, Brandon Martinez, he faces charges of reckless endangerment, assault, and criminal use of a firearm. We're in the Garment District. I'm John Chandler, News 4 New York.
Did you see those white liberals whining about guns, the access to guns? New York has the strictest gun laws in the country. And you got these white liberal women on the street whining about there's so many guns. How does that happen? How do you have white women on the street whining about too many guns in a city with the strictest gun laws? Well, because these criminals don't get their guns from the gun shop. And a gun ban ain't going to affect them. It's only going to affect law-abiding citizens. Black Americans are nearly 10 times the gun violence homicide victims. 10 times. Think about it. We're 12% of the population. We're a very small percentage of the population. And we're all localized in cities. We're in like the major cities. You go to rural America, you don't see as much of us. 10 times as likely to be the victim of a gun. That's why every time you hear there's a shooting, hit one if you agree with this. Every time you hear there's a shooting, whether it's on Twitter or on the news, or if somebody tell you they was shooting, anytime you hear there was a shooting, who do you automatically think was the shooter and the victim? Automatically. In your mind. Like if somebody was right now to tell you there was a shooting down the street from wherever you are, where would your mind automatically go to? Mine, I would automatically, and y'all saw me do the DC gun memorial yesterday on the video I did yesterday. You guys know what I think. 1,000% that it was a black person. 15 times likely to be the victim of a gun assault. Okay? So the fact that we're only 3 times as likely to be the victim of a police shooting is great, because look at all our black people are doing the majority of the gun crimes. By far, black people by far are having the most open air, broad daylight uses of guns. And they're only 3 times as likely as white people to get killed by a cop. So if and you hear the sirens behind me now, something just happened around here. But if we're doing the vast majority of the shootings in public, the killings in public, the murders, the robberies, and having infinitely more interactions with police than any other race, wouldn't it make sense that we would have the most fatal interactions with police? Wouldn't that just make sense? Think about it. Wouldn't it just make sense? that the group that does by far, leaps and bounds, the majority of the shooting up of this, shooting up of that, broad daylight, this, that, robberies, stick-ups, heist. In a civilized society where police respond to these type of things, not in the jungle, but in a civilized society where police respond to these things, wouldn't it make sense that that group would have the most fatal interactions with police? Get in the comment section, hit the like button, subscribe, take the $5 challenge, or you will op. Peace, I'm out.